I'm George Retch Bogart. I'm a professor of pediatrics at UNC Chapel Hill, and I'm the medical director of the North Carolina Children's Airway Center program. This program is one that began sort of naturally as really a partnership between the pediatric pulmonology group and the pediatric ENT group here, beginning with Amelia Drake and then with Carlton Zadansky and then Austin Rose, who joined the group. We actually began as a casual conversation between pulmonology and ENT, sitting around looking at videotapes of bronchoscopies. And we realized that in the review of the videotapes, we were talking about what we found about a patient and what we needed to do next. And it actually became the origin or the foundation of coordinated care for these children with complex airway problems. As the program grew, as we got more pediatric pulmonologists and more ENT doctors, and then brought in other services, anesthesia, speech and language, the feeding team, the pediatric gastroenterologists, we needed a little more of a coordinated approach. And so we thought this is an ideal way to set up a multidisciplinary clinic, call it the Airway Center, and make it more than just a clinic, make it a program. We then put together a proposal to the Duke Endowment because they're very interested in stimulating the growth of new innovative programs, and we were successful. We were able to hire some really key positions, a respiratory therapist that was devoted to the Airway Center program, an administrative coordinator who could keep track of all of our patients and help coordinate appointments and visits, and eventually a social worker who could help us facilitate the complexities of getting patients simply to get to an appointment. Every Tuesday morning at 7:30, we get about 25 people around the table and discuss patients that are in the hospital, whether they're on the floor, whether they're in the ICUs. We have the neonatologists and the intensivists come and talk about the patients that they're actively monitoring. We have the inpatient teams there to talk about the patients they're following. We review video of patients that recently had diagnostic studies, or we talk about the surgical status of patients that have just been operated on. So we really bring together everybody. One of the most recent stories that I can recall is of a little boy who was one of twins that were born early, and because of that vulnerable period, many times the immaturity of the lungs requires us to support their breathing. But one of the risks of having a tube in the airway, in a tracheal tube, is that there can be scarring right in the area below the vocal cords. And this little boy had that problem. He required a tracheostomy, and as he got older, he was ready for that corrective surgery to actually open up the airway. He had the surgery. He was in our ICU for about a week. He required coordinated care in the ICU, and the intensivist would come and talk about each step of his recovery. The speech and language people would come in and do feeding assessments to say, okay, it's safe to feed him this, but not this, because we wanted him to be successful in his surgery and have a good recovery, and we didn't want to push things. And it was just so thrilling to see his family pack everything up after being in the hospital for a couple of weeks and head home. So that was really the most recent wonderful story that I can recall. There's so many of them.